Okay, welcome back everybody. We're doing a little bit of a change here in our project. What we're going to do is we're going to start dealing with score, health, and lives. And I just realized that our object player, we made it persistent. I made a big deal about talking about persistent score, health, and lives and that kind of a thing. Well, when the player collides with the death object, it switches objects. That's the same as no longer being persistent. So we need something to manage score, health, and lives. So we're going to create a new object, and we're going to call this new object Game Manager. Game Manager. And the whole point is it's going to manage the game. And we're not going to call it Object Game Manager, although there's nothing wrong with that. We're just going to keep it short, Game Manager, no sprite. We are going to make this persistent. Nothing can destroy it, so it'll just be there. And we're going to use this to deal with score, health, and lives and heads-up display. Now, I could have our player do score, health, and lives, but by having the Game Manager track it, then it allows us to have multiplayer games, and it just gives us some flexibility. Not to mention that score, health, and lives can be tracked persistently throughout the entire game. So the first part of this session, I want to talk today about drawing a health bar and tracking health throughout the game. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add a create event here. And then in our create event, what we're going to do is start tracking health, score, health, and lives. I'm just going to deal with health for now. So we're going to drag assign variable out. You don't need to see that. The variable is going to be player 1 health, like so. Health begins at 100. It is 100%. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to draw a health bar. In order to draw the health bar, we're going to do a draw GUI. But before we do, one of the things I'd like, well, let's just go ahead and do that. We'll draw the health bar first of all. So we're going to add an event, which is draw, and it's draw GUI, because we want to draw this health bar at the very top. Okay, so you're going to draw it at the top of the screen. Now, a couple things is we've adjusted the, whoa, let's look at our room view. We just adjusted the views of the room, right? So we have this viewport, we've enabled it, and we're currently using viewport 0. We have some values here. These values can change. You can mess around with that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the room view. I also want to check out the grid of the room. I forgot. So it's 32 by 32. So each of these boxes are in here. What we're going to do is we need to basically always have our health bar at the top left corner of the screen. So in order to do that, we need to keep setting the health bar. Actually, we want to position it within the viewport, not on the world. If we do it in the world, the moment we move away, the camera, because we're following the player, is the moment we can't see that anymore. So what we need to do is go over to our Game Manager object, and let's add a step event before we do the draw GUI. The step event, what we're going to do is we're going to use this event to constantly provide the X and Y location of our heads-up display, where we're going to draw the health bar and all that. It is a game manager. It's managing that, but it's also going to display the text. So what we want to do is do a thing called execute code. So in the execute code, what we're going to do is we're going to continually set the X and Y to upper left hand corner of the screen. You can't quite see all that. Let's just move this over a little bit. And you don't need to see that anymore. So you got the continually set the X and Y to the upper left-hand corner of the viewport. Let me move this over here so you can kind of see all that. And still not viewing, so okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to set X equals, and we're going to do this view, and it's called export. It asks us a number, which is which view we're using, but there is a variable called view current. And this variable means whatever the current view is, that's where we want to set it. And then we're going to add 10 pixels. Actually, we'll try, how about 15 pixels from the left-hand corner. And then the Y is going to be set to the view Y port. And then we're also going to do the view current. And we're going to go ahead and let's drop it down 15 pixels as well. So up, down. So this will always be setting the X and the Y. Once we have the X and the Y set, now under draw GUI, we can draw the health bar. So we're going to go in here. It's also an execute code. And I want to just zero in on this. We don't need these values really. So let's just go to this execute code. And we're going to full screen this and full screen here because I want to just focus in on what we're doing here. And so what we want to do is we're going to draw the health bar. Let's just start by drawing it. And we're just going to do draw underscore health bar. There it is, draw health bar. And we have to give it a lot of values, and they're all hinted at down here. So at the beginning, we're going to set X and Y, because that's the X and the Y position. X2, by the way, I'm calling these numbers out X2 and these variables from what I see down here. So X2 actually represents the width of the screen. We'll try 175. Y2 is how tall it is, so that's 50 pixels tall. And then the amount is like, what are we drawing? And that's going to be the player 1 health. Okay. Now, I'm going to hit a comma and go to the next line and tab over. Back color stands for background color, and that C underscore black will be the background. And then minimum color is when it's getting down to 0, we want it to be red. So we're going to give it a C red color. And then the maximum is when we have maximum health. So we're going to type C, and we're going to do lime. I like that color. We're going to put a comma here, and then we have a direction. So this is which direction it's sort of oriented. If we give it a 0, it's pointing towards the right. And that's how we would normally see a health bar dwindle. That's what's common. Show back would be show the background. I'm going to say true. Yeah, show the background. Show the border. Sure, why not? Set it to true. Okay, so at this point, it's going to draw the health bar. We have to put it in the scene. So we're going to go to room 1, and we're going to go to our resources. And I'm curious as to what this question mark is. Instance of something. I'm not going to worry about it. We take the game manager, drop it in here. Okay, so that's the game manager. It doesn't matter where we drop it. Let's test it and see if we can see it. And once we can see it, we'll basically get the dwindling health to start working. So you notice there it is, 15 pixels over. You may want to adjust that even more. So if that's 15, maybe about 3 or 4 times that amount to just push it away. But you know, as soon as we start moving and we go, let's see what happens. See, as we start moving, it moves with the player. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here's what we want to do. We want to go back to the game manager. And in step, not only did we set the X and the Y, but let's start slowly lose players' health. And notice I made it plural, so if you wanted to have more than one player, you can do it that way. So we're going to do player 1 health. There it is. And we're going to do this thing called minus equals. We're saying this is the same as saying player 1 health is equal to player 1 health minus whatever value comes after this symbol. We're going to put 0.05. So we're subtracting 0.5% of a percent. So 1 in our health would be 1 out of 100. That'd be 1%. So this is like 5/100ths of 1%. Now remember, it's cycling at like 30 times a second. So let's see the health go down now. There it is. Now, that's pretty good. Now, if you watch it go down, it's going to slowly start turning less and less lime, more and more green. Okay. Now, if we die, it should and it didn't reset the health. So we're going to have to add a couple of things here. First of all, when we restart a room, let's reset a health. So this was under create. Notice that was under create. It didn't seem to reset player 1 health. So what we may want to do is have it be a room start instead of a create. Let's see if that happens to work. So we're going to right click and we're just going to change the event to other room start. And let's try it out. See if this works. Because once you die, I mean, come on. Let's just, we're going to subtract a life anyway. Ah, there we go. Room start. We got a fresh health. Plus, if we clear this room, we'll get to start with fresh health again. All right, so notice room start instead of create allows it to happen on an ongoing basis. So we have our dwindling health. Notice when we die, what we may want to do is, first of all, the health bar goes away entirely. One of the things we could do is, while we're dying, we could draw the health bar at nothing. And so let me show you how that looks. We go to Draw GUI, and let's get rid of some of this stuff. And now we're going to just do a check, okay? So we're going to do a Draw Health Bar. And then let's just do our check. And we'll just put this while player is alive. And we'll do Draw Health Bar as dead while player is dead. The way we're going to do that is to check to see if there happens to be an instance in the room. So we're going to do an if. And then we're going to put instance underscore exists. So if an instance exists, which instance is it? That would be object player. And do curly bracket. I'm going to tab that health bar over, tab it over again, get rid of that extra line return, and then we're going to go to the end of this line, and we're going to do a closing curly bracket, and then we're going to do a little else statement. Otherwise, if it doesn't exist, we're going to draw the health bar, but instead of drawing the player 1 health, we're going to set the health to 0. You don't have to do this, but it is kind of fun, and it helps you see how you can do an if-else type statement. Let's go ahead and play this and try to die. Yes, I know that sounds pretty gruesome. But hey, we got to test everything out. Test all the things. Notice the health bar goes to black when he's dead. All right, how do we get our health back? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a series of pickups for our game. And in our case, what we're going to do is we need to maximize, we need to reduce, reuse, recycle. And so we're trying to keep as few objects as possible. I want to have a lot of different power-ups. And so each one would have a different sprite. But I also want to make it so if I have, like, for example, a health power-up, I'd like it to look different in different locations. So they look like they're different objects. It's not the same thing over and over again. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a sprite that has a ton of frames. And we're going to basically random select certain frames. And so I'll show you what I mean. And so we're going to, there's a sprite called pickups. And I'll show you where that is. But let's first rename our sprite. So it's sprite pickups, just like this. And then we're going to click edit image. By editing image, we get this image in the window up here. And what we want to do is import a strip image, also Control I. So I click it. And now what I want to do is I want to find my assets folder. Here's my GMS Platformer. There's assets. It's extra files. And it's pickups over here. It comes from WidgetWorks Sprite Library. I'll hover over here. You can see it's widgetworks.com/spritelib/. And the works is just spelled with a W-O-R-X. Okay, open up pickups. We got a lot of these frames here. So what are we going to do? Okay, so I'm going to maximize this window so you can kind of see what's going on here. Maximize this. All right, so we got these sprites here. And notice there's a couple pixels off of the top. So I'm going to do a vertical pixel offset. 1, 2. I think 2 should do. We'll try 3. We'll see if that works. Might even be 4. We'll see. And we probably need an extra 4 pixels. So we're going to make the frame height be 34 or 36. And we're going to do a horizontal separation maybe. We'll test this out. So we have this frames, number of frames per row. I probably need another little space here. I do want to have a pixel offset. So I'm going to do a pixel offset of 1 or 2. All right, that one is pretty well centered at the bottom here. I just want to make sure the top sort of lines up with the skull. We'll see if we can get this all to match. Now what we're going to do is where it says frames per row, I'm going to start adding that. By adding to our frames per row, if we don't have enough frames, it'll automatically adjust for it. So notice how they're just right at the bottom of here. So I'm going to keep adding frames per row. And notice how we're getting close here. So we're going to do a horizontal separation. I'm going to do a separation of 2. And we'll just keep going until things look wrong. Yeah, that looks wrong. Notice ice cream cone. Let's just keep going. It's not bad though. Our skull is just, I probably will never fit, but we'll see. Should we make the height a little taller? Let's do the vertical pixel offset 1 less. And the height, I'm really looking at the difference between the different objects we have here. So we have this club and that getting close. Skull is pretty close. It's not too far off. It's too bad that skull is not smaller. Everything else is lining up really well. So we're going to keep adding. Now we're going to add number of frames. And as we add more frames, you can see what's happening here. And now we've got problems, right? We've got all this pixel offset causing all kinds of issues. So I do have a problem with that pixel offset. So I wonder if we want to change the width to 34 and get rid of the separation. By not separating, actually the skull is not far off. We have little issues here and there, but this is something we can clean up. So let's just keep adding our number of frames until we've got just about everything in here. We could do a vertical separation, but then I'm afraid it's going to cut off some of these objects. We'll just have to do. We probably can't get to everything. Like so. So some stuff gets cut off. Honestly, it's a caveman. Does he even need a grenade? Would there even be one? No, I think not. Also, we could add more here. And the reason why I'm adding more is you can actually cut from one frame into another. So if I actually add 19 per row, and I do this, I can actually recover all of this coin and maybe get it to fit into one square by resizing or whatever. So at this point, I'm going to click convert. Here are your numbers. You might want to pause it. It's 76 frames. 19 frames per row, a width of 34, a frame height of 39, no horizontal cell or vertical cell offset, 2 horizontal pixel offset, and that's from the left, 3 off of the top, gets us that, and then 0 and 0. So we're going to click convert, and we're going to click yes. So what this does is each of these objects now is in its own frame. We're going to clean it up a little bit by deleting the black background. And we're going to grab some of the food items. And so one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the food items together. That's not food. This is. I don't know what that is. What is that? I'm a little afraid. I'm not even sure I want to know what it is. That is, okay, now you notice there's a little bit of a cutoff over here. That was from the pizza. So I'm going to move pizza over here. And check this out. Okay, so let's say I want to restore the piece of pizza over there. I can get this move tool and I can move it to the right. While I'm moving it, I'm going to move it down. I want to get it right at the bottom over here so it's kind of centered. And I go over here and there's these right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select those using the rectangle select tool. I'm going to copy just all these pixels. And I'm going to choose Control C to copy. I'm going to go over to the pizza. Uh-oh. I have a problem. I'm going to click this, get my move it up a couple. Yeah, I had a problem with that pizza. Let me go back. I'm going to undo and try to fix it. I take it back. It's part of the chicken. Let's move the chicken over next to here. Yeah, see, it lines up with the chicken just right. Okay, that's my problem. I was looking at the wrong object. So, oops, because that is selected. I'm going to just get my selection tool again, delete that, get the move tool, move it to the right a little bit, try to get it kind of centered. Let me go back, go there, go back here, get my selection, Control X to cut, and now let's just drop it in there. Yay, chicken! Who doesn't like chicken? All right, but now you can see how you can do some of these. Let me show you another one here. This bottle, check this out. I'm going to show you something really cool about the bottle. Part of the problem, though, is if you look at the next frame, whoa, next frame after the bottle. Let's say we want both this bottle and these scrolls. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to copy from the scrolls. So I'm going to go over to the scrolls, and I'm going to move this over. And you might be saying, wait, what about that other green thing? I'll show you in a moment. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to get my selection. I'm going to start over here and then just kind of go out as wide as I need to. Control X. Go over to the scrolls and just insert there. I got my scrolls. Okay, that was pretty easy. So now that I've got my scrolls, and the reason why I had to do that is I wanted to make sure this is irregular. This is a symmetrical design, so I want to show you something really cool that you can do. So I'm going to move this over as much to the right as I pretty much can. And now I'm going to get my selection tool. And you'll notice we got part of the bottle here that kind of got cut off just the last couple of squares here. So what I want to do is I want to get these last ones here. So basically copy this, do Control C, that copies it. You got this here. Check this out. I'm going to click on here. It's the mirror brush tool, and it just got a mirror image of that. I click, and now I get this tool, and now I can delete. So you can go in any of these objects that get cut off but are symmetrical in their shape, like this hammer, for example. You can just copy parts of this, paste it, and flip it. Okay. Anytime something extends that's irregular and not symmetrical, I would cut it from there, paste it into the other one. You kind of want to go out like at this point, there's nothing here, but this carrot has a little bit here, and then this one spills over here, and this club spills over here. So rather than start on the left, I start on the right, and I go, okay, I got this carrot. I want to move it, so I move it over here. Then I go over to this one, and now I'm going to select it. So basically, I want to just do all this, Control X, go over to the carrot, paste it in. Is that right? That's probably right. All right, then I got it, and now I can delete, and then I'm just going to work my way towards the left. You know what? I'm looking at our time here, and we're pretty far in. How about we just extend, the next video I cover is going to cover creating the food object that will randomly select the objects that will restore health. And while I'm at it, I'll take this heart and I'll display one heart for every life that we have. And then eventually we'll just display score as a score, and we'll deal with score, health, and lives as a mechanic idea in our next video. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching.